Have you ever had a moment where something felt off, but you couldn't explain why? So instead of trusting it, you talked yourself out of it. And later, you realized you were right the first time. The off feeling. That feeling is hard to describe. Some people describe it as a punch in the gut. That's what I personally experience. Some other people describe it as various somatic symptoms which occur in the body, maybe like burning in the chest or something like that. Um, it's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's subtle. So you essentially, like when you're working any muscle, which I know the gut is not technically a muscle, but you are working on your intuition and trusting yourself, right? You got to keep flexing it and keep working with it. And pretty soon it'll be something that you recognize without even thinking about it. So if something doesn't line up, but you don't have proof, so your brain steps in and says, maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I'm reading into it. Maybe it's nothing. And that's usually the moment we override ourselves. Why we don't trust it. Most of us were not taught to trust that feeling. Thankfully, I was actually taught through my mammy or my great grandmother and my grandmother, who always said, trust your gut. We were taught to be nice, give people the benefit of the doubt. And honestly, nice, like what is nice? There's a difference between nice and kind. Nice can potentially make you a doormat, right? Kind is showing compassion and respect for other people, which is great. But it doesn't make you oftentimes the subject of mean people and bullies and things like that. Not assume the worst. And for a lot of us, we also grew up learning to manage other people's reactions. If you were a child who asked, promise you won't get mad to your caregiver, that didn't come from manipulation. That came from trying to feel safe before telling the truth. A truth that as a child you feared. You feared telling the truth, so you wanted to couch the question in a relatable way to ask your caregiver whether they would get mad hearing the truth. And when they said they wouldn't, and then you gave your question or your answer, and there was a blow up or a negative reaction, you couldn't understand. You felt like that's why you asked the question. The whole purpose of asking the question would make sure that you didn't offend, that you didn't hurt, that you didn't frustrate someone or make them angry, right? That was the whole purpose of it. And so when they said they promised they wouldn't get mad, and then they got mad, what did they do? They weren't honest with you. You were trying to be honest with them as a child the best way that you knew how. And you also had studied that person long enough to know that they were a person who got hurt feelings easily, who was very sensitive, and could be very explosive at times. So you learned how someone might react matters more than what you're feeling or what you want to know or what you want to understand. As a child, we look to our caregivers to give us reference on how to deal with certain things, how to manage certain emotions, how to be emotionally regulated. And in that scenario, there was nothing learned, but ultimately, when I ask an honest question, it can hurt people's feelings, even though my intention is not to do so. Some may say, hey, that's gaslighting. Actually, that's not gaslighting because children are looking for safety. They are looking for reliability of the adults in their lives. But yet, when they have the role where they are trying to protect an adult, that is almost parentification. And so saying that a 4 or 5-year-old is gaslighting their adult is not even close to reality. Ultimately, the child was gaslighted and goaded into asking the question, thinking that there would be an honest, kind, compassionate response, which in turn led to the opposite reaction, which was a volatile response that didn't benefit anyone in that scenario and may have potentially caused the parent a little bit of distrust with the child because They promised, and you know how kids are. They take promises seriously, a lot of them. I myself, from the time I was growing up, I thought promises were very important, and I relied on them greatly. And when they were broken, it was very hurtful and very painful, as I recall. So let's talk about your gut versus your mind. Your gut isn't magic. It's pattern recognition. It's your brain processing. Your brain is processing tone, body language, inconsistency. If someone is mad, but they have this huge smile on their face and are laughing hysterically, you see that doesn't match, right? And kids are very intuitive about certain things, especially their own caregiver and who they're around. So the child knows that something is wrong. If you're super angry and you're laughing hysterically and smiling real big, then there's an ulterior motive or there's something you're not telling. Or past experiences with said adult or said caregiver. Before your brain is processing, before your conscious mind catches up. Your gut recognizes patterns your mind hasn't fully processed yet. But if you've been conditioned to doubt yourself, your mind overrides your gut every time. Let's talk about the cost. When you don't trust that feeling, you stay longer than you should. You give relationships that you should probably bail out of a second, third, fourth, fifth chance. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt, right? You explain things away. Well, you know what? They had a bad day at work. I know that, they've been really close to my friend lately, but I mean, maybe they're thinking about what they're going to buy me for my birthday, or you ignore red flags that could put you in danger, could make you distrust yourself even more, or lose your sense of self and who you are. And over time, you stop trusting yourself altogether. This is where the real damage happens. Not in the moment, but in the erosion of self-trust. As I've said before, you are the only person who's going to be with you for the rest of your life. And you ultimately have to trust your decisions, trust your intuition, and trust yourself. What I've come to learn after many times of disregarding the gut feelings that I've had, a lot of those occasions end up disastrous. Now, does that mean that, someone was hurt or anything like that? No. But it just means that things didn't turn out because they weren't meant to turn out. And if I had listened to that, I could have saved myself a lot of heartache, a lot of frustration, a lot of sadness, right? A lot of betrayal that I felt based on going against my gut. And that sounds small, but betrayal is extremely painful, as many of you likely know. Let's talk about the shift. The shift isn't always assume something is wrong. It's this: pause when something feels off. Give yourself a moment. Don't rush into a quick, hasty decision because you think that nothing's wrong. Like you could overcorrect the wrong way, right? Get curious instead of dismissive. Don't dismiss that feeling. That feeling is there. It's an internal protection system for you to keep you safe. And if you watched my live today, you know that I talked about a story about and I will use the word gentleman lightly, gentleman who I had an encounter with, and I was thankful that I was able to trust my gut because I truly think that it saved my life. And it is currently public on YouTube right now. It's called the YouTube Live. So if you want to check it out, feel free. Allow yourself to notice before you explain it away, right? Because a lot of people are like, I'm overreacting. Or you've been told growing up, you overreact. You're oversensitive. You're high strung, or you create these scenarios in your head just so you have something to worry about. You're anxious. You have anxiety. Maybe your anxiety is acting up again. Why is it when someone has a feeling, a bad feeling, and they're wanting to choose to act on it, other people are dredging up things that really have no relevance to what is going on, right? Does it matter if you're an anxious person by nature? Really? Does it matter that people want to say, does it matter if you're sometimes oversensitive? I mean, all of us have those moments, certain things trigger us, and that's okay. Is it, you overreact all the time, you're super dramatic, you're a drama queen, you're a drama king, or whatever you are, right? Why must we name call when someone is saying, I have this feeling and I'm not sure and I don't know, it just feels off? Because that feeling, it's information. It's information that you can dive deeper in, you can ask people about, you can think about it, you do not have to make an immediate gut decision immediately, right? Yes, it's right, no, it's wrong, right? So in closing, you didn't miss it because you weren't capable. You missed it because you were taught not to trust yourself. And if I dare say this, I say that is a wrong thing to teach anyone, whether you're an adult, whether you're a child, anything. I've always been teaching my kids, just as I was taught, to trust your gut feeling because your gut doesn't lie. And like I said, when I've ignored my gut, guess what? It hasn't been pretty. I mean, have I been harmed? No. But I'm saying I could have saved myself from situations that I didn't even need to mess with, right? And that's something you can rebuild. Trust with yourself is extremely important. It might take some effort. It might take some time. But try it out. See how it works. Try different techniques. Maybe look into some strategies. Or if you have any topic ideas, feel free to let me know and drop them down. If this resonates with you, you're not alone and you're in the right place. We have a fantastic, empathetic, compassionate community who encourages others and who wants to know more on family topics and trauma and family roles, as well as perfectionism and other topics. So stay tuned for those. Thank you for tuning in to Recovering Perfectionist Mama, Grace in Progress. I appreciate each and every one of you. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Buffy. I'm a women's lifestyle creator on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. I've been doing Facebook Lives. I've started talking about doing Facebook Lives at noon each day. From about noon to 1, I do like a TikTok podcast first and then TikTok live first and then do a YouTube live and then get some content out and do some long form and such. So again, I appreciate your support. It means a lot to me. I love the communication in this community. You guys are fantastic. And I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for taking the time to tune in, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.